Hi there and welcome back to this week's trade recap. A really quick one because this week I only took two setups and I'm just gonna show them as well as show the ones that I didn't take but should have been taken. It's really simple. On Monday we just had expansion up. On Tuesday you have expansion down, so nothing for me to take a trade. Then on Wednesday we had this trend line liquidity that I failed to take a setup on. Here, this was on Wednesday, we inversed this to the downside, and because we had this much momentum, we didn't need to rebalance to equilibrium. Usually, on those types of setups, we go down without taking a lot of liquidity above. So if we zoom in on the 15 minutes, we see that this is the most important fair value gap, the 15 minutes. This is the one that kind of tells us of the condition, which means that if this inverts to the downside, we will probably go to the low resistance liquidity. Here we have a intermediate term high because we have a short term high on the left and on the right. But because this was too low, I was still expecting some sort of longs for us to go take this, but I forgot what I just said before, that on this type of days with a lot of momentum, we don't rebalance to equilibrium nor take the liquidity above. So when we inverse the 15 minute, this is a sign that this is bearish, and we already made this relatively equal lows here on this 15 minutes. So if we zoom in on the 1 minute, we understand that right at open we went down, created this relatively equal low, and we formed this 1 minute fair value gap. Here I said to myself, okay, we have relatively equal lows, we have an SMT on this high, so if we do inverse this to the downside, I'll take it. But it just started shopping. It tried to inverse this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 candles, and it just couldn't. So when we inversed this on this candle, I told myself that I wouldn't take this trade because I wanted to see some more efficiency for me to say this is an A+ setup. But this is still a great setup. I was just being too mechanical and not subjective as I should be. So when we inversed this 15 minute, I failed to notice that we had really inversed it. So I didn't have that confluence that would maybe give me some more confidence, and I didn't take this trade nor this 30-second right here because we were already, as I said in a previous video, inside the trend line liquidity, which just means that because we are past the trend line liquidity, when we form a setup near this line or after this line, usually it is a good setup to this low, even if we are really deep in discount. So even this 2 minutes, 1 minute / 2 minute right here, I thought about taking it because we were so bearish, the market couldn't go up, but I was still not noticing that we were below this low resistance liquidity line that I am talking about. So on Wednesday I failed to recognize that, and when we took this 2 minutes, because we once again didn't have any sort of momentum, I didn't, but it did work quite well. The trade that I did take on Wednesday was this one. Once again, we have low resistance liquidity below, so it makes us bearish, but I didn't understood that. So I took this inverse to the upside. I took this 3 minutes right here, and I was targeting these early market highs with my stop loss below here. And as you can see, we didn't tap any zone of break even, so this probably would be a loss. But if we zoom on the 1 minute, we understand that this was supposed to be the break even, because if we didn't inverse this 1 minute, it would be bad for us and the market would probably reject this. And ES had already tapped this zone. He had already created an SMT with this zone. And when I understood that we had a good momentum, see on this candle we have good momentum and this we don't, but still, once again, this is a big candle. This one opened and went right above that and almost tapped the break-even zone. I said, okay, I've seen these type of trades lose when it takes a lot of time for it to get to the break-even phase. On these big trades, I know just for experience that usually these trades tend to fail. So when I understood that, and I understood that we were close to the break-even phase, I went break-even and it saved me from a normal loss. On Thursday, just because we were so low on the market and on the open, we swept and made a manipulation leg. I was going to long this 5 minutes, but I wasn't trading that day. I was away and I was just looking at this with my phone, and with the volatility that is inversed, which I can't show right now, but is inversed with so much volatility that I didn't want to gamble on my phone. It worked. My target would be something around here. Then again, we rebalance all this zone. We rebalance this 15 minutes and we inverse to the downside, which a lot of people took this with a lot of momentum. We inversed this 5 minutes and we had this huge wick that isn't a data low nor the 930 wick, but it's a really big wick and we are still weak on the market because once again we are really low on the market and we are still respecting bearish order flow and bearish PD arrays, so this makes this a really good trade. Also later on that day we had this that swept this barely, but because this wasn't a big fair value gap I didn't thought about taking it, but this was so much momentum, this also was a really good trade. We had discount on our side and we had momentum on our side, so this was also a good trade that I didn't take. Well, now that I talked about all the trades that I didn't take, I have still another one that here on the 1 minute, today on Friday, we had this fair value gap, but this was so much momentum to the upside that even if we zoom here on 30 seconds, you can see that we went in 30 seconds 100 points up, so I wasn't prepared. I didn't take this trade as well. To me, that really isn't something really special, but I tried to be a little bit more aggressive today, and because ES was so strong, right at open ES went up 50 points, which is really unusual. I thought to myself that, okay, I am still quite bullish and ES made this movement, I'm gonna wait for it to tap the 50% and then wait for a setup. But because I don't trade on ES, I trade on MNQ, I waited for this 5 minutes. So this supposedly is a rejection block, but because we have already taken buy side liquidity, this rejection block stops being a rejection block, but it is still an intermediate term low. So for us to take an intermediate term low, we need to take a short term low, and this isn't really the best target, and that's why I didn't take any trade on the short side, even with us sweeping buy side. But because the market was still rejecting this, the market inversed this 15 minute, but it failed. When we inversed this 5 minute to the upside, I took this trade. Once again, this was a break even because here in the 15 minutes, we have the consequent encroachment of this wick. And once again, I'm just a break even warrior and I got a break even on this trade. It respected quite well the consequent encroachment of this wick, went below, made me close the trade at break even, went to my stop loss if I didn't have closed the trade, and then it made another inversion that to me didn't make sense because we didn't have any type of delivery and we were just chopping around this zone, kind of funneling, and now it went up. So this just shows to me that we don't have quite the best price action. That's really it. Really sad week. At least I didn't lose any trade, which is a really positive side. I didn't gamble anything. 2 break evens, nothing exciting. I'll see you next week. I'll be here once again. Thank you. Bye bye.